Let's talk more about it now with Marc Polymeropoulos, who spent years as a CIA officer and was the chief of operations in Europe and Eurasia, and Clarke, who's the director of research at the Sofan Group. So Marc, let's break down the role that Bill Burns could potentially play here by meeting with Israeli and Egyptian intelligence officials. There's already an envoy in the region, Brett McGurk. He is kind of the lead negotiator here for the United States. But Director Burns himself has a pretty extensive foreign policy resume. What is this signal about the level of negotiations here, and why would President Biden be making this move now?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that some progress has been made. You know, they wouldn't dispatch Burns to Europe for meetings if there wasn't some hope that these hostage talks had some chances of making progress. And you have to remember that in the Middle East, everything happens in these intelligence channels. So Bill Burns will be there. David Barnea, the Mossad director, will be there, as will. It's just been reported that Ronan Bar, the Shin Bet director, is going as well. So I think there's some hope on this. And to me, it's a reflection more on kind of the Israeli political reality that the hostages are just a seismic issue inside Israel. And while there was always a contradiction between, getting the hostages back and Israeli military moves in Gaza, I think the hostages now are taking front and center, and I think the Israelis recognize this. And so I think we should, there's a chance we'll see some progress, at least on a limited deal.
So, Colin, as Matt very well put out for us here, is that this is not an easy situation that Burns would be walking into. Qatar saying today that they're appalled by the leaked comments from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu criticizing the Gulf states' role as a mediator with Hamas as, quote, problematic. Qatar called the comments irresponsible and destructive. I mean, they've played such an important role in these negotiations. What could these tensions have? What role could these tensions have in these hostage negotiations?
Well, I think, it's a big story at the moment, but the Qataris are true professionals when it comes to, hostage negotiations. I don't think it's going to impact the overall tenor or outcome of the deal. I do think this is, we're getting close to the last best chance to free the hostages, though. The big issue, the breaking point is, whether or not to agree to a permanent ceasefire. And we have to remember that the conflict in Gaza is directly related to all of these other conflicts in the region. The Israeli-Lebanese border, what's happening in Yemen and the Red Sea, Iraq with the Shia militias there. So I think if there is the opportunity to reach a deal, I do think these are the individuals best positioned to do it. And it would also alleviate some of the pressure that we're seeing from all of these other Iranian proxies that have been highly active in the region.
And Marc, you mentioned the political stakes here for Netanyahu, how the families of these hostages are angry. They want their loved ones home. To Colin's point here, what could a potential hostage deal look like? And could a permanent ceasefire be on the table?
I think a limited deal is more likely, and this is going to be, what if the reports are accurate, and this is the Israeli suggestion, of course, is that it would be a 2-month pause. And then kind of a graduated release of the hostages who are held inside of Gaza based on first female hostages, then some soldiers, then some of the deceased, the bodies. And in return, Israel would be releasing, Palestinian prisoners. But the notion of kind of a permanent ceasefire, I think that's farther off. And look, the Israelis have been very clear from day one that this campaign might take, not weeks, months, but perhaps years. Counterterrorism is not, a 9-inning baseball game. There's no time limit on this. So ultimately, I think that we might see some progress on a limited deal, but a permanent ceasefire, this is not something that really anyone in Israel is talking about, clearly not the Israeli defense establishment.
And then finally, Colin, the U.S. and Iraqi governments, they're expected to start talks on the future of the U.S. military presence in the country. What could that entail?
Look, this is a really major second-order effect. If the United States is asked to leave the country, it really opens the door for the Islamic State, for the resurgence of ISIS. So, the impact of the Gaza conflict is being felt now throughout the region, and we could really see some, detrimental effects on the back end of this if the U.S. is asked to leave as advisors Iraqi security forces that continue to battle remnants of the Islamic State. So, some really serious ramifications if that happens.